The night Mirza Olang fell was not just another attack. It was the moment that split the lives of hundreds of families into a clear before and after. This small village, hidden among the wind-carved hills of Sar-e-Pul, had survived years of war. People there lived simple but hopeful lives. They had their mud houses, their small gardens, and neighbors who were more like relatives. They had a sense of community, a sense of place. But on that night, everything changed forever. The first signs of trouble came around sunset. Some of the young men in the village noticed an unusual silence on the surrounding roads. It was an eerie quiet. Even the birds seemed to have disappeared from the sky. The wind itself carried a strange tension, almost as if it was trying to warn the people of what was to come. Sensing this unease, women brought their children inside earlier than usual. Men took to the rooftops, their eyes scanning the hilltops, searching for any sign of movement. Nobody could have understood that this profound silence was the prelude to something truly terrible. When darkness finally fell, a thunder-like sound echoed from the distance, but it wasn't thunder. Within minutes, the village was surrounded. Doors were shut tight, but those thin wooden doors were the only barrier between terrified families and the nightmare that was approaching from the dark. Survivors would later recall a chilling detail. There is nothing more terrifying than the silence that hangs between the screams. One by one, the lights in the homes went out. Some families scrambled to hide in their basements, hoping the earth itself could conceal them. Others tried to make a desperate run for the narrow valleys nearby, praying the darkness would offer them cover. Mothers held their children close, trying to muffle their cries. Fathers searched desperately for any possible escape route. But once the encirclement tightened, there was no way out. The village had become a trap. A few families managed to slip away through hidden mountain paths they knew from childhood. The trail was so narrow and rocky that even the faint moonlight struggled to reach it, making every step treacherous. They later said that the fear of falling, the fear of losing their way in the dark, the fear of being separated from their loved ones, none of those fears compared to the sheer terror of imagining what was happening to the people they had left behind. When dawn finally broke, a pale, sickly smoke rose above the village, hanging in the still air. A heavy, suffocating silence covered everything, a silence that everyone understood, but no one dared to describe out loud. The meaning was too painful to put into words. It took 3 days for local forces and the few escaped survivors to finally re-enter the village. What they saw there would be burned into their memories for the rest of their lives. The houses were no longer homes. They were hollowed-out shells. Belongings were scattered and burned. Remnants of lives abruptly ended. The trees that once offered shade now seemed to hold the memory of fear in their branches. A survivor captured the feeling perfectly. The village didn't just die in its buildings, it died in our memories. The families that once shared food, laughter, and grief were now scattered across different cities and even different countries. Some never returned, unable to face the ghosts of their past. Others still hold on to the hope of rebuilding Mirza Olang one day, of bringing life back to the empty streets. But even if the walls rise again, the memory of that night will always exist in the deepest shadows of the survivors' minds. This isn't just the story of one village. In many ways, it is the story of Afghanistan itself, a place that has been broken time and time again. Yet its people refuse to give up. They endure, they remember, and they hold on to hope. And maybe that incredible resilience is why stories like that of Mirza Olang, despite their immense pain, become part of a truth that must never, ever be forgotten. Thank you for listening. If this story touched you, please share it so that these voices are not lost. Subscribe for more stories that deserve to be heard.